Hello there, kia ora. This week marks the 1 year anniversary of the current government coming to power and being sworn at. Sworn in. To celebrate, the coalition parties have been releasing PR content to show how much they've done, or at least how much they want you to think that they've done. David Seymour praised the fact that there's less tax, less red tape, fewer ram raids, and race based policies, making sure his dog whistle gets heard. And at the time of putting this together, New Zealand First hadn't actually made any comment, their last post being a condolence post about former MP Nikki Kay. And National released a swanky promo video talking about all the hard work they've done to get the country back on track. It starts off with our millionaire Prime Minister, who's been selling his properties with no taxed capital gains on them after he moved the Brightline test, telling us he knows that Kiwis are doing it tough.
I know many Kiwis are still doing it tough. Our country is coming out of a recession driven by wasteful government spending.
The wasteful spending he mentions, well, there's a few elements to that, but wasteful spending is an easier soundbite. It includes all the money spent on keeping people alive and businesses afloat during the height of the pandemic when lockdowns were in place, and initial work on a range of projects like a second harbour crossing and light rail in Tamaki Makaurau. But because they kept telling people that projects needed to turn sod on the day that they're started instead of carefully planned, organised, evaluated and prepared for, along with making sure every single person impacted by big projects was involved in whatever way they needed to be, well, they convinced people that that meant nothing had been done. So, wasteful spending.
That wasteful spending drove up interest rates and it sent the cost of living skyrocketing.
Oh, that cost of living crisis he mentions, well, that was caused by a huge range of international factors, which he admitted to in a video he did before going to the United Nations and meeting Joe Biden.
In short, what happens overseas directly impacts our way of life here in New Zealand.
But again, it's now the previous government's fault, apparently.
Yeah, our priority has been rebuilding the economy to get it working for you.
Their priority to rebuild the economy started with tanking it, cancelling ferry orders to pay for landlord tax breaks, cancelling the report IRD was doing into tax fairness and rushing through changes to government organisation names to minimise the use of Te Reo Māori, getting rid of fair pay agreements and the Māori Health Authority, cancelling or cutting funds to climate change programs, delivering the smallest ever minimum wage increase, reversing smoke-free laws and scrapping affordable water reform.
The wasteful spending tap has been turned off.
The tap he mentions, well, that was the money being spent on things like the Dunedin Hospital build and other hospital upgrades around the country, road safety improvements for multimodal access growth, education funding into Te Reo Māori courses that were cancelled based on deliberately misleading data released by the government, school lunches that don't look and taste like cardboard, and underfunding core services like the health system.
Savings are being made across the board.
Those savings have come at the expense of thousands of government workers, with more to come, at the expense of a working health system, education systems, and climate mitigation plans.
And we have given hardworking Kiwis tax relief.
That tax relief. Well, hardworking Kiwis on minimum wage got a couple of extra dollars a week. They also stopped funding disability groups to ensure that people being employed by them had their wages topped up to minimum wage. The tax relief didn't offset the increased costs in primary health care access, prescription medicine, public transport costs, power costs, increases in food costs, and rent.
Inflation is down. Interest rates are down.
Inflation and interest rates were predicted to be at this level years ago when the impacts of the pandemic were becoming apparent. The sticky parts of inflation right now are actually caused by this government's spending and the impact it has on the wider economy, and interest rates were adjusted quickly when it became clear that the government policy had stifled the economy too hard.
Better public services. 160 police officers are now part of community beat teams up and down this country in our key towns and cities.
The government set itself a target for new cops, then lost about 80 of them as they went overseas, and the funding for the new Auckland CBD station actually came out of other areas.
Gang patches are banned and tougher sentences for repeat offenders are planned for early next year.
Gang patch bans are ineffective. They don't stop crime and they don't deal with the causes of gangs in any way whatsoever.
Children are doing an hour of reading, writing and maths each and every day.
Schools already did dedicated time allocations for reading, writing and math, so this is just a PR term to convince people that they did this.
Up to 26 more cancer treatments are on the way, with more than a dozen already available.
Do we really want to have a talk about cancer drugs? The cancer drugs you promised then refused to pay for in the budget, the cancer drugs you only decided to fund out of next year's budget because of the public backlash after Nicola Willis ghosted Shane Reti when he was asking about those being in the budget. Really? Are you sure?
To grow the economy by cutting red tape.
Sometimes red tape is there for a reason. I'm sure that there are a few examples of why that red tape is in place.
Increasing skills.
How? How are you doing that? Moving the fees-free year to the final year doesn't increase skills, and telling schools that they can get rid of courses to focus on reading, writing, and math, that's not increasing skills. Or maybe you're thinking of the skills kids get in boot camps these days.
Investing in infrastructure.
Do we need to talk about the ferries and the hospitals again? Oh, but you did invest money into pothole repairs and roads of regional significance by removing money from road safety and public transport budgets. And you are not changing your climate change policies, and climate impacts are one of the leading causes for potholes. So you're literally throwing money into a hole and hoping that the problem goes away.
Trade and investment, because that's how we can help you.
Oh, has anyone mentioned yet that your trade deals are in danger? Most of them are now reliant on environment impact outcomes, and your climate change policies have put us at risk of not meeting their obligations for trade deals in China, Europe, and the United Kingdom.
That's how we create high-paying jobs, lift incomes, and help you to get ahead.
You haven't created a high-paying job outside of Seymour's Ministry of Regulation. You're actually overseeing thousands of government workers losing theirs and tanking the economy at an unsustainable rate, which is seeing massive swells in unemployment, which you then go on and punish people for with the harshest sanctions in a generation and punitive measures put on beneficiaries, while re-indexing benefit rates to ensure that long-term those needing the help of a benefit get less than they would have. Look, I get it. PR is important for a political party, and a one-year anniversary is a big deal. But telling us everything is going great while the house is on fire feels like another example of not being able to read the room from a political party that has made not reading the room a defining element of their tenure in power. Wait, you're still here? It's over. Find another video.